Hey guys, check it out. You're watching Jonathan Clarke on YouTube. Oh no! Big shout out of love going out to the Descendants and Zombies universe, because I know without you guys I'd probably be hanging out with the Guardians of the Galaxy this afternoon, and with how irritated Rocket Raccoon becomes on times, that doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun. I say this because you guys wanted somebody to host a Descendants and Zombies podcast for you, and because you put the call out to me and you brought me back from seemingly out of obscurity, from out of nowhere, I'm back. After 7.5 years of being on hiatus, you guys brought me back as your host of Descendants and Zombies, and to be honest with you, this is the greatest honor and the most fun that I have had in my entire life. The Descendants and Zombies universe have been incredibly supportive of Jonathan Clarke. They know that Jonathan Clarke knows what's up, and they don't want anybody else to be the host of a show about Descendants and Zombies for them, so they brought me back, and they've been hanging out on this YouTube channel for forever. I love hanging out with you guys on this YouTube channel talking about Descendants and Zombies, because I really do believe that Descendants and Zombies is never shown enough respect. It is never given the credit it deserves, and I just wanted to give it the respect it deserves, show them the admiration that all of us have had as we share in the same passion for Descendants and Zombies, because I believe never enough good things can be said about it. And I love, on a Sunday afternoon, spending my time with you guys talking about Descendants and Zombies, because I could be anywhere else in the world today I didn't want to be, talking to somebody I didn't really have any interest in, but the best place in the world to be is right here in this office this afternoon talking about Descendants and Zombies. So I noticed that the Disney Zombies fan page on Facebook just yesterday posted something commemorating the 20th anniversary since the premiere of the show Supernatural. Of course, that was a TV series that focused on two brothers trying to carry on the legacy of their father by hunting out demons, monsters, witches, vampires. It was a really crazy show, and I think that series ended in 2020. It had a 20-year run with about 21 seasons. It was insane. It was an insane show. And what I noticed about the Disney Zombies fan page was that they talked about it in the way of thinking about how whoever thought that Meg Donnelly, just 20 years after the premiere of the Supernatural TV series, would be as big of a star as what she is. Can we please back off of Meg Donnelly and leave her alone? Did we really have to post something as a tribute to Supernatural, kind of posting a parody about Meg Donnelly and everything she's done? Meg Donnelly is somebody who has done everything with an open heart and an open mind, for those of you who don't know. And I'm talking about all the critics on YouTube, because there are a lot of critics on YouTube of the Zombies franchise. Zombies has received criticism ever since the first night of its premiere back on February 18th of 2018. And nobody has ever been able to shy away from criticizing it. We've seen werewolves see their introduction into the franchise. We have seen aliens see their introduction into the franchise by Zombies 3, and now vampires by Zombies 4, and it seems like everybody just tries to find something negative to talk about when posting a review or a commentary on Descendants and Zombies, and here's my issue with that. I don't even think anybody knows how to commentate on Descendants and Zombies, because if you watch these reaction videos, when has anybody ever provided you with a commentary or an analogy on Descendants and Zombies? They don't. Because they can't, because they don't know anything about Descendants and Zombies, because most of the critics that are reviewing these reaction videos for you about Descendants and Zombies are watching it for the very first time. They were never a part of the premiere. They didn't know the story of Descendants and Zombies. They didn't know the first thing about a Daywalker or a Nightwalker. They didn't know the first thing about Victor and Nova. They didn't even know who they were. And they've been showing disrespect to Zombies and Descendants for what feels like forever. So I showed up on YouTube after you guys brought me back saying that Jonathan Clarke knows what's up. He's the best commentator in the world, the greatest of all time. We've got to get him to be our voice of Descendants and Zombies. And I have never felt so honored to be your voice of Descendants and Zombies, to talk about Meg Donnelly and Dove Cameron and Kylie Cantrell and Ruby Rose Turner, some of those stars I miss dearly. It breaks my heart they're no longer a part of the Descendants franchise. I am here to do anything but criticize Descendants and Zombies, and I'm here to give a profound amount of credit to the stars that deserve it. Because Meg Donnelly has been so honest with each and every one of us about how she hasn't really felt like she's been living up to her fullest potential. She's felt as if she's not good enough, and it really broke my heart when Meg Donnelly went on her TikTok account one night for a live stream and said, "I don't think I'm good enough." You know, it brought me back to years when people like Victoria Justice and Jeanette McCurdy from Sam and Cat and Victorious days would say that they're not role models. And that broke my heart, but this broke my heart even more. Because these stars of this new generation are incredibly talented. I grew up as a millennial, so I grew up from 1986 up until the year 2000. And I had the time of my life growing up as a millennial, seeing stars like Sarah Michelle Gellar, Amy Jo Johnson of Buffy the Vampire Slayer fame and Power Rangers fame. I also had the honor of seeing the later stars of the Disney Channel revolution like Miley Cyrus and Selena Gomez and Demi Lovato come into their own. But I, for one, would have loved to have went back in time and seen these stars grow up in the millennial era, because in all honesty, it would have been so much fun seeing Meg Donnelly become the star that she is today in the 1990s and see more respect, because I think in the 1990s more people would have respected her than what they do now. This is why I say the fans of Descendants and Zombies are the most incredibly supportive fans in the entire world. They don't care who you are, what's happening in your life personally or professionally. All they care about is you as the person, who is the actress in Zombies, who is the star of Descendants, and who is bringing it to life for them. Because they see everything that there is to represent and love about Descendants and Zombies. They didn't care who Meg Donnelly was. They didn't care what was going on in her own life. All they cared about was that she was the star of Zombies, and she was going to be the one that they would forever and always love and support and idolize for forever. And that's why I say stars like Meg Donnelly and Milo Manheim will forever be missed as part of the Zombies franchise. Now, while I could be wrong with everything I just said, I think there are millions of people with 600,000 fans of Descendants of Zombies alone on YouTube. I think there are more people who give Meg Donnelly a profound amount of credit than are ever given credit for. You guys are the most respectful fans in the entire universe, and the best niche that I would ever want to provide commentary for as a host of a radio show or a YouTube video for all of my life. I've been doing this for 25 years. I said earlier today that I've been doing this a lot longer than many of you have been alive, and perhaps some of your parents remember my commentaries from years ago when they were looking for advice on their relationships and whatever niche I was providing commentary for. The thing is, I've been around a very long time, and I've commentated on a lot of different niches, everything having to do with TV shows. So I was a part of the Twilight era, I was a part of the Vampire Diaries era, I was a part of the Buffy the Vampire Slayer era, as I just said. But I have never been a part of a niche that has been so incredibly supportive of my vision for Descendants and Zombies. What breaks my heart is how all these critics on YouTube will go out of their way to throw nothing but criticism the way of your favorite stars. When you had the time of your life at the Worlds Collide Tour and you wanted nothing more than that chance to never end. Because I would have been in the same position as each and every one of you watching these performances of Freya Sky, who I believe is the next Taylor Swift, watching the performances of Kylie Cantrell, who I believe is the new Hannah Montana of this generation, because while the argument can be presented that Miley Cyrus is the greatest young teen idol of all time and the greatest singer of all time, I really do believe that Kylie Cantrell is on her way to becoming the greatest of this new generation. If Miley Cyrus will go down in history for being the greatest singer of all time, then so too can Kylie Cantrell. And I'm just here to make sure that happens. Because when you see stars like Kylie Cantrell and Meg Donnelly afraid to Google themselves because they are afraid of what they're going to find, that creates a problem. That tells you that they have feelings about what people are saying about them, and they don't deserve to be wasting their tears on critics on YouTube, who basically shoot these videos out of their parents' basement, their parents' bedroom with no backdrop whatsoever, or because they just don't have anything else other productive to do in their lives. I say this because I know what it's like to be criticized for what you present in the way of content on YouTube and whatever commentary you're providing on for whatever specific niche. And it is really hurtful when a star who thinks she's inspiring so many millions of people, which she is, has to go on YouTube and social media sites and see all these negative posts of how people feel about her. And this is the result of why people like Meg Donnelly are saying that they feel as if they're not good enough. They're not realizing their fullest potential. I mean, okay, 20 years ago, Supernatural premiered. Everybody was so excited about Supernatural's premiere. I remember the premiere of Supernatural. I remember being over at my cousin's house, and he was so addicted to watching Supernatural. That's all he wanted to do from 9 o'clock every night up until about 2 o'clock in the morning the next morning was binge watch Supernatural because he loved the TV series. Everybody was crazy about that. Everybody was crazy about Twilight. November 18th, 2008 was a time in my life that I will never, ever forget. I had the time of my life being a part of these premieres. And I know how incredible shows like Supernatural and Twilight were. If anybody out in this world knows how incredible series like Twilight and The Vampire Diaries and Supernatural were, it's this guy. Because I feel like I've been a part of every generation of that. I've been a part of every generation having to do with Disney. And I've seen Disney in its best years. But I have never seen Disney capitalize on the popularity of a franchise as much as what they have Descendants and Zombies. Because Descendants and Zombies has really changed our lives, and changed our lives for the better. We have a whole new perception on life. We're making friends with more people. We're staying friends for forever, because some of these friendships are standing the test of time, which is something I really love about it, and I will forever and always appreciate. And that's why I see no issues with creating hundreds of Descendants and Zombies videos for each and every one of you. Now, I know people will say for forever they miss the original Descendants cast. They will miss the Zombies cast because they don't want the times to change. Because as fans of these franchises, as the times change, we too have to change. But I think as time goes on, people will fall in love with Freya Skye and Malachi Burton's characters. People will fall in love with this new franchise of Descendants more than they ever have before. And I have a profound amount of credit to give to these stars, because I think that Kylie Control's resume definitely speaks for itself. I mean, Disney was looking forever for an answer to iCarly, and they found it in Berserk. And they eventually went on to find it in Coop and Cammy Ask the World, although Coop and Cammy Ask the World and Gabby Dern and the Unsuitables and Berserk only lasted a mere 2 seasons. But the reason why it lasted only a mere 2 seasons is because Disney recognized the potential in stars like Kylie Control, Meg Donnelly, Ruby Rose Turner, Malia Baker, Mila Manheim, because franchises like Descendants and Zombies were well on their way to changing everybody's lives and forever and always holding a special place in our hearts. I think some of the most beautiful friendships have happened in this lifetime because of Descendants and Zombies. People are staying friends for forever and longer because of Descendants and Zombies. I don't have a whole lot of friends who, watch Disney, so I was pretty much on my own. I was a lone ranger, if you would, traveling through the forests of Disney, discovering the passions that existed behind Hannah Montana, Wizards of Waverly Place, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, Phineas and Ferb. But it didn't take me very long to understand why you guys loved it so much. Why you loved movie franchises like Tangled, which is beyond me why they haven't had Tangled 2 released yet, or The Nightmare Before Christmas with Jack Skellington, the king of nightmares. I love the idea of how Olaf, a snowman, wanted to be embraced by warm hugs when Frozen first premiered in 2013. If I tell you I was a part of every aspect of Disney and the Disney Channel Revolution, I was a part of every aspect of Disney and the Disney Channel Revolution. And if I tell you I've watched Descendants and Zombies 100 times, you had better believe that I watched Descendants and Zombies 100 times, and I know how much it means to you, so that's why I do my best with these commentaries. I know sometimes I sound like a broken record praising the same stars up all the time, but I do it because they deserve to be praised up, especially when people are making idiotic posts about Descendants and Zombies, which they have no business making. Doing these reaction videos where the person hosting the reaction video doesn't know the first thing about Descendants and Zombies, couldn't care less about Freya Skye. That's why I say fans of Descendants and Zombies are incredibly supportive, and they have this never say die, never quit on you attitude. And if the fans are going to remain loyal to any specific niche and make sure it lasts for forever, it will forever and always be the fans of Descendants and Zombies. I can tell you from my heart to yours that I have always believed in Freya Skye, no matter how much she doubts herself, and I have always believed in Meg Donnelly, even though she believed her time was surpassed with the Zombies franchise and it was time to pass the torch. I can't even tell you how many times I've seen moments where the torch has been passed for whatever specific niche or whatever interested a generation of fans, and it was never ever done successful. But I think the torch was successfully passed in Zombies because it was setting up for new storylines, new characters, new twists and turns in the plot. And I, for one, am incredibly excited about Zombies 5, even if it doesn't happen until 2028. Because we still have so much of a story to uncover, so much of a story to discover, and so much history to be a part of. Because when the torch was passed in Zombies 4, Dawn of the Vampires, it was a moment, especially for millions of fans who can remember being a part of the very first Zombies movie back in 2018. I was going through the most rough time of my life. My dad had just passed away, and I was looking for incentive. And you guys showing up at my door every year on Halloween finally convinced me, after thousands of emails came in, to create a Descendants and Zombies podcast, and you got your wish. As the old saying goes, you should be careful what you wish for because you just might get it. But this is a wish that I think everybody wanted. And for the life of me, I don't know why Disney didn't give you guys a podcast on Descendants and Zombies years ago, because they invested so much money behind a Marvel podcast and everything else having to do with podcasts. They had their unofficial podcast, their official podcast, everything having to do with Mickey Mouse, the Marvel Universe, you name it, they've done a podcast for it. If they actually took a time to realize, what was popular with Disney, I think at the D23 Expos, more light would be shed on the success of Descendants of Zombies. I've even heard people referring to it as an indie film, which is the craziest analogy that I've ever heard in my life. So much so that the stars believe that Descendants is an indie film, that Zombies is an indie film. It is way beyond the caliber of an indie film, with a higher budget every year, with more storylines and more characters introduced into it, and it's really come off as a huge inspiration to so many millions of people. I, for one, love the music. It has everything to do with how I love musicals. I know because I was a huge fan of Wicked, and I'll be going to see Wicked for Good on November 21st. I was a huge fan of SpongeBob SquarePants. I was a huge fan of Bluey. I was a huge fan of everything having to do with supernatural creatures. So Meg Donnelly donning the role of Addison Wells in this franchise was perfect. And then I heard interviews about Meg Donnelly opening up about, with an open heart and an open mind, of how big of a fan of SpongeBob SquarePants she was and watched his cartoons because she's so soft-hearted. And she was so worried how people were going to perceive her and what they were going to think of her because she was a huge fan of SpongeBob SquarePants and Bluey. I will openly admit to you with an open heart and an open mind on this show that I have watched Bluey 100 times. Actually, the other day at EB Games, when I was checking out some of the latest games on PlayStation 5, because I do that every week, I had the Bluey video game in my hand, and I seriously thought about buying it. But because of how low in price it was, I didn't. But the thing is, I have the most respect in the world for people like Kylie Cantrell and Meg Donnelly for being so honest with each and every one of you. So much so that they would even discuss their personal issues with panic attacks and fearing necrophobia, which is something we can't do anything about. Let me offer Meg Donnelly some advice for dealing with necrophobia. Death is something, no matter what you try to do to avoid it, it will always happen and it will always come for you. It's all about time that we are allocated in life and how we spend the time with the ones we love to create moments that we will forever and always cherish. I know this because I've dealt with it my entire life, ever since I was 13 years old, and I didn't grow out of it, and I didn't stop worrying about death until I was at least 20 years old. So that was about 7 years into my career when I realized the pressure of dealing with necrophobia was really getting to me. The thing is, you know it's going to happen to you, no matter what you do to try to avoid it, and there's nothing you can do about it because it's inevitable. It's something that you can never escape. But what you can do with the time that you're allocated in this lifetime, because time is so precious, is what it comes down to. We all know we're going to the same place, but what kind of legacy are we going to leave behind? I had this conversation with my grade 10 teacher. The first day of grade 10, he looked at me, he said, what you have to realize is someday the thought that you're going to die has to enter your life. It's all about what you're going to do in the lifetime that you have and the time that you're allocated, because it had already entered his life and he was dealing with a lot of health issues. He passed away about 5.5 years ago, and his legacy's never been forgotten because he was more determined than ever to have a legacy left behind. So that's what Meg Donnelly's got to think about when she's struggling with anxiety about necrophobia and panic attacks and her mother's battle with cancer, everything all in the one. It's just realize that she has 1 million followers on Facebook and social media platforms such as X because people believe in her and people think she is a huge inspiration. The last thing she has to worry about is dealing with a fear of necrophobia, because when her time comes to die, she will be one of the greatest of all time, and she will never ever be forgotten, because that's what I'm here to ensure. If it's the last thing that I ever do, because I don't know how many years I have left as a podcast host, because I've been doing this a lot longer than many of you have been alive. I just spoke on how I've probably been doing it around the same time your parents used to watch YouTube, and that was over 20 years ago. They probably watched my videos for advice about relationships and different niches I was providing commentary on, TV, movies, and video games. I had a whole lot of fun meeting everybody I did years ago, and it was the greatest honor of my life, and it's one of my greatest honors to be in your presence talking about your favorite niches, be it Descendants and Zombies. The thing is, we are all in this together, and we are up against 15 million critics about Descendants and Zombies. Meg Donnelly can listen to the critics, or she can choose to go in the opposite direction, which is a more promising direction to go in, because that direction will lead her to this YouTube channel, will lead her to all of us, who are incredibly supportive of her and who don't care that Supernatural premiered 20 years ago yesterday, because we're more excited about what Meg Donnelly has to offer as a Disney star and to Zombies 5 as the creative director. You know, they were given credit in the credits of Zombies 4: Dawn of the Vampires as executive producers, herself and Mila Manheim, because they wanted creative direction for all of their life. And they finally got that opportunity, and they're going to make the most of it, just as they did in Zombies 4: Dawn of the Vampires, because everybody feels honored to be a part of something as special as Zombies 4 Dawn of the Vampires. Everybody who was a part of it in the crew in New Zealand were just so happy to be there, so they were so obliging. I can only wish that other Disney Channel TV shows and movies had that same kind of, hospitality shown to them. I would have loved to have been a part of the crew in New Zealand, just to let them know that everything was going to be okay, and everything was going to make perfect sense. Because if there ever was a cast that really brought Zombies 4 Dawn of the Vampires to life, it was the cast of Zombies 4 Dawn of the Vampires. It was Freya Skye, it was Meg Donnelly, it was Mila Manheim, having everything to do with how they believed in a franchise. I never saw a franchise as powerful as this growing up in the 1990s. I had a whole lot of fun watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Power Rangers and Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Boy Meets World. But I think that this generation of Disney fans has so much more to be excited about as Disney fans. I mean, sure, we're seeing reboots of Wizards Beyond Waverly Place. We're seeing so much done. A Vampirino, whatever it's called, remake is in the works. Vampirino, there you go. That animated TV show from Disney. But I think that this is a generation to have a whole lot of fun with and to enjoy being fans of Descendants of Zombies, rather than everybody just tearing down its credibility because this is what they liked about it, this is what they didn't like about it. And if you notice in the reaction videos, that's all they're talking about, is what they didn't like about it more so than what they liked about it. I mean, most of the people who watched Zombies 4 Dawn of the Vampires loved the Dream Come True music video because it was the first, unofficial duet that was introducing us to Victor and Nova and how much they were going to mean to the franchise. And I, for one, am incredibly excited for how much they have to offer and everything they have to offer to the franchise. Even if these franchises have to go without Meg Donnelly and Mila Manheim, even if they don't make cameos. I think we should, go into Zombies 5 with a lot of, confidence, knowing that Meg Donnelly and Mila Manheim are just right there. They're behind the camera. So even though they're not seen in specific scenes or creating new moments for Descendants of Zombies, all we got to do is remember how powerful of a moment and how powerful of a couple they were in the past and think about, okay, they're just right there. So if anything goes wrong or goes south with this new script, it's going to be something special. It's going to always have something for us to run away with and be incredibly appreciative of, because I have been, while I can't speak for every other critic on YouTube, I have been incredibly supportive of Meg Donnelly, and I will forever and always be incredibly supportive of Meg Donnelly and Mila Manheim too. Because years ago, I didn't really have a whole lot of good things to say about some of the guys on Disney Channel because of their arrogance. But now in this new generation, people like Mila Manheim and Malachi Burton are doing a fabulous job honoring the legacies of franchises that have meant so much to the stars of the past. So in essence, Mila Manheim and Meg Donnelly have so much to be proud of. And I couldn't be more proud to be your voice of Descendants of Zombies, being right here, telling you how proud I am to be a fan of Descendants of Zombies, because the reality of all of this is, I am just like each and every one of you, and I have no right to criticize Descendants of Zombies. I know I show up on my show every day with a flannel shirt, and I hope that somebody is going to hear my voice and watch my video and subscribe. Because one of the greatest challenges of being a YouTube creator is that, you can create as many Descendants of Zombies videos as you want. But it's until the fans of the show realize the appreciation for the franchises they love exists in the show they're watching on YouTube, and that is confidence enough for them to hit the subscribe button. I go to Booster Juice and Dairy Queen every single day of my life, coming home hoping that someone while I'm gone is going to subscribe to my YouTube channel and help the count. And you do it every day, so it shows that you are very passionate about what you believe in, which is why you should turn away and shy away from all the criticism about your favorite, stars and franchises. Because if you want to believe that mermaids are going to happen by Zombies 5, if you want to believe that pirates, sirens, and witches have a chance of showing up out of this vortex, go for it. Have fun with it. That's what I'm here to tell you to do. Meg Donnelly and Freya Skye and Kylie Contrell, they will all find their light. And I'm here to help them make sense of their lives. Even though it may not seem like it on times, or a lot of people can't make sense of why all these videos are being produced. They're being produced because I love the franchise, just like you do. Because I know what it's like to be you. Be excited about the World Slide Tour. Be excited about a movie premiere for Descendants of Zombies. I know what it's like because I've been there for every aspect of Disney Channel's revolution for forever. I've been a part of everything having to do with Disney and Nickelodeon and TV just in general. And over the years I've been providing commentaries on a lot of different niches that didn't really make a whole lot of sense. But now I just love being in your guys' presence talking about Descendants of Zombies and giving Meg Donnelly and Freya Sky a whole lot of incentive to keep on doing the fabulous job they did at the Worlds Collide Tour and for the future, the foreseeable future of Descendants of Zombies, which I, for one, am excited to be a part of. If you love this video, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. I will be back with at least one more video before sunset this evening, and I hope you will join me for it. Until then, keep on being kind to each other. Don't mind the critics. We will beat them all with these videos on this YouTube channel, the most popular Descendants of Zombies YouTube channel with over 60,000 channel views. Thank you guys so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We will talk again in just a few hours from now. Stay calm and zombie on, everyone.